Hi guys, James back again with another video. Another one in my Hidden Gem Spotlight series. And this one I found a couple more movies that I wanted to do for this. And this one in particular is one that I'm a big fan of. But I will say right from the outset, this is a fairly disturbing movie. Definitely not for everyone. But I've seen other movies very more well known which have received way more acclaim than this one that I've found even more disturbing. Looking at you, piano teacher. This movie by Michael Haneke, foreign film, and there's just some disgusting things in there. And that movie has a Criterion collection release. Well, there's like Antichrist. I couldn't even finish that one. Really turned me off. This one is, if I hadn't said before, a film called Child of God. And it's a film from 2013, and it's written and directed by James Franco, who I'm a big fan of. And he has a very small role in the movie towards the end, but largely just acts as the writer-director on this one. And it stars Scott Hayes, who's sort of a method actor, who's appeared in a few James Franco films, but also several others. I'd say the most notable films he's been in were, I believe, Only the Brave, the firefighter film based on a true story, and let me see. Yeah, Only the Brave. He was also in the other James Franco directed film I mentioned, Future World. But he was also played a supporting role as one of the bad guy thugs in Venom. Anyway, besides the point. Great actor, and he is at the forefront of this film. He plays a character named Lester Ballard. Now, this is based on a Cormac McCarthy novel. So, almost all the stories I'm aware of from Cormac McCarthy are essentially pretty bleak, including the one screenplay he wrote, which was for The Counselor, and that movie's exceedingly bleak. But this one, he plays a character named Lester Ballard, and I believe it takes place in the 50s. And he's sort of an outcast from society, sort of a mountain man kind of thing. Lives out in the woods, in shacks, caves and stuff. And he is, I'd say it goes without question saying, he is not a good guy. He's certainly disturbed in the head and does some pretty deplorable things in the movie. Kills a bunch of people, shoots people, steals things, and always claims like, I didn't do nothing. A lot of his dialogue is pretty unintelligible. It's almost like he's speaking without using his tongue. He's just like, I do nothing. He's got the accent of the area where he lives, which I believe it says in Sevier County, Tennessee. But there's more. Apparently, most of the people in the movie can make out what he says, but it is hard to make out a lot of what he says just by the way he talks. But it's very effective, and the movie follows him. He is the main character of this movie. It follows him going about what he does. Apparently, he's an expert rifleman, expert shot with a gun, but he's like, he hunts, harasses people in town. As I said, all the crimes he commits, he always claims that, I didn't do nothing. What James Franco does with this movie, though, is and I can't speak for anybody else except myself, but there is a tiny part of me that while I'm watching the movie, cares about what happens to this character. Just me as a person cares about what happens to this character as a person. despite all the horrible things he does in the movie. See, I find myself caring about, well, what's going to happen to him? Is he going to get away? Is he going to die? What's he going to do next? All the while he's killing people and, I will say, doing stuff with the bodies. And again, the movie's not for everyone. I warn you at the outset, because there might be some stuff in the movie that turns you off. But one thing that I don't think you can really argue about this movie is James Franco's direction. I've only read part of the novel, so I guess the writing's pretty accurate, like a good adaptation. But this movie could have fit very nicely high up into my list that I did for the most beautifully shot movies I've ever seen. The cinematography is beautiful, just beautiful in this movie. And I think Scott Hayes certainly deserves a lot of recognition, because a lot of his roles are supporting. He is right out front and center for this movie, and he does a fantastic job. Like, you hear him you watch him in other movies, hear him in interviews, and you can't believe it's the same person that acts in this movie. Let me see. The other actors that you see in the movie, you've got Jim Perrick, and the one that I remember him most from, although I've seen him in several movies, was he's sort of the Joker's right-hand man in Suicide Squad. And so if you've seen that, you know what I mean. Basically, his main henchman. You got Tim Blake Nelson as Sheriff Fate. Jim Perrick plays Deputy Cotton. James Franco plays a character named Jerry. You don't see him until towards the end, because at some point Lester goes after an old man who's occupying a house that Lester claims is his property. Now, it's never determined if that's true or not. Excuse me. But he basically goes there with the intention of killing him to take back the house. Well, he takes a few shots at him, but he's got this small rifle, so it only knocks the guy down, chases him into the house, and when he opens the door, the guy comes back with a shotgun and basically hits him in the shoulder, hits him in the arm, and police catch him, and they end up amputating his arm. And this is towards the end of the movie, so it's not really a spoiler, because the movie just goes from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene. There's no real spoiling this movie. It's not that kind of movie. You watch it for the performances and just the, I want to say grand vista, but like the painting-like cinematography of this movie. And a bunch of guys from the town show up in the middle of the night, essentially, you think, to take him from the prison hospital and lynch him. And that's essentially what they're going to do, but first they want to know where he's hidden all the bodies of all the women, because he frequently comes upon couples that are parked up on, they call it Frog Mountain, parked on the side of the road, and he ends up, he keeps killing them. The first couple that you see he comes upon, he comes up and watches them through the windshield. They're having sex in the car. And then he leaves, comes back the next day, and the car is still running, and they're in the car dead. They ended up asphyxiating because they fell asleep while the car was running. And he ends up taking the girl's body back to his shack. Well, he does this several times, where he goes and kills the guy, kills the girl, takes the girl, and after his shack burns down, he ends up occupying this cave up in the mountains. And you see at one point he kills one girl on the road, takes her back, and he's got like several women's bodies in there. Well, the lynch mob, essentially, one of which includes James Franco's character Jerry. They want to know where he's hid the bodies, and he keeps saying, I don't know nothing about no bodies or anything. I was like, you tell us where the bodies are, and we'll take you back to the hospital, and you can take your chance with the law. Well, he keeps denying, and they're about to kill him. He goes, okay, I'll take you to them. So he leads them back to the caves where he lives, and he's going up this steep slope, saying like, it's up here, watch yourself, and he ends up crawling this narrow crevice and getting away from them, because none of them are small enough, skinny enough to follow him, and essentially gets away, but it's not the point of the movie. It's just, and certainly not the way the book ends, from what I've read. Anyway, it's a very conflicting movie, as I said, where he does all these horrible, terrible things, but I still find myself caring about what happens to him. But it's also a morbid curiosity. I'm like, what's he going to do next? He just did this. What's he going to do next to top that? But the performance he puts on is just so captivating. Despite how his character looks and the things his character does, it's just the performance he puts on is so intense. And it's not a gentleman you'd ever like to meet in your life. You'd want to stay far away from this person. And you would hope, excuse me, you would hope that this nasty individual gets what he deserves. Yeah, so, again, several disturbing things in the movie, but I'm able to get past it in this case. Certain movies you can't. This one, I can. I found myself really enjoying the movie as a whole package. And this was one that I just found by chance. I think I had seen it in the store before, and it had an interesting cover, which I had put up earlier. And I knew it was directed by James Franco, and I hadn't seen, this might have been the first movie I had seen that he had directed. And he's directed several movies. This was, I think, one of the first full feature-length movies he had directed, as far as, to the best of my knowledge. And then I found the DVD, I think it was in Oggs, here in town, when it still existed, on Previously Viewed, so I got it and watched it. And I had actually, I used to, when my friend Dalton worked at the same theater I do, I would always lend him all these movies that I was pretty sure he hadn't seen. And one of them was Child of God. And he had it, I won't go too far into the story, but he had it for at least a year and hadn't watched it yet. And he would frequently go to Toronto International Film Festival. And so he went there, he was going there one year, and it's like, well, if you could do me one favor, is, because he was going there because they were premiering The Disaster Artist, the movie starring and directed by James Franco that was sort of like about the making of the infamous movie The Room. And he was going to go there to get James Franco's autograph, maybe Seth Rogen's autograph, whatever. And it's like, if you could get this autographed for me, that would be insanely awesome. And he did. So I had the DVD with the autograph in the front. I was gonna hold it up here, but I didn't think ahead and dig it out. And knowing my luck, it'd probably take me 15-20 minutes to find all the movies I have. Anyway, quick story about the DVD for Child of God. I do plan on finishing the book one of these days, and I had seen the movie a few times previously. It had been a little while, so I watched it again today to refresh my memory, so a lot of what I said was accurate to the best of my knowledge. And yeah, that is about it for Child of God. And what another interesting thing that like the movie separated into chapters, but there's various voiceovers throughout the movie, 3 or 4 I think, where another character basically spouts out a little blurb about the character Lester Ballard. And the movie opens with shots of Lester Ballard just looking around, even looking into the camera and just saying like, Lester Ballard grew up in so-and-so, Tennessee or whatever. He was a child of God, much like you or me. And basically where the title comes from. And yeah, I very much recommend this movie, but I recommend it with the caveat that it is disturbing, a little unsettling, but again, way less disturbing or unsettling than other more well-known movies that I've seen or maybe you've seen. And there's just something about it. There's just something about the movie that grabs me. Anyway, so I guess that is all for this one. So, like and subscribe, comment, suggestions are welcome. And I guess I'll see you on the next one. So, toodles.